Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the C.I.C. Lounge. I'm Peter.
I'm Jen.
And today is kind of a bittersweet episode.
It is.
It's the last episode of Season 2 of Strange New Worlds, Hegemony. Oh.
I'll start off by saying it wasn't quite what I was expecting.
No.
I was really thinking that Marie Battelle was going to be just axed.
Oh, right off the bat.
I thought, we see the opening was beautiful, like this total serene park, Midwest, which is very original Star Trek, by the way. They would do that sort of thing all the time. And then the Gorn show up and I'm like, yeah, she's gone, or she might live just long enough to die in Pike's arms or something like that. Yeah. But no, I was really quite surprised they didn't just axe her. The thing of it is that we know it's been renewed for season 3, but to my knowledge, it hasn't gone into production, which means no storylines are finalized. So we don't know. We can't even really speculate on what's going to happen. So this cliffhanger, it really ended in a cliffhanger in a way more dramatic fashion than I was expecting. I was expecting a wrap up to the main story with a tease or a foreshadowing or a foreboding of what could come next, whether or not they get another season. And nope, it's a straight up. We're leading you up, and then just to be continued.
Yeah, to be continued.
To be continued. Ugh. Fuckers better to be continued it. We gotta wait at least 2 years?
At least 2 years.
Before
writers and actors strike is still going on, so we don't even have anybody hopefully somebody's doodling ideas and stuff like that, concepts down, but we don't have any scripts right now, and that's gonna take a while to write those scripts, and then you have to
going into production. It's usually because Strange New Worlds and Discovery and Picard, they're all usually 1.5 to 2 years out, unlike network television, which is 6 weeks.
Yeah, well, they're dumping a little extra money.
I get it. You can't argue with the production value that you get out of these streaming services. But come on, 2 years.
I just gotta say,
2025.
I know we're gonna bounce. You guys, we're gonna bounce all over this episode. We're not gonna be consistent. We're not gonna break it down scene by scene or anything like that. But the ending. I did love how they started, 15 minutes in, we meet Scotty, and, that's obviously we're setting up for the next season and potential, and the eventuality, of the Enterprise that we all know, with Kirk being as the captain. So we've got Scotty now. Obviously we have Uhura, we've met Kirk, we've got Spock, so who are we going to get next season? But what I loved about this at the very end, the people who were left on the planet get teleported up, and I noticed immediately the second I saw the color, it was kind of that green color. I was like, oh shit. And then 2 seconds later, there's no life signs on the planet. And I'm like, fuck, the Gorn got him. But you had to open up the door because we don't have Chekhov either. And how are we going to get Chekhov if Ortega's is there? Now, I love Ortega's, but she's got to go.
Well, we don't know. My understanding is that when Discovery premiered, Discovery was 10 years before Kirk.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So we're 3 or 4 years into that. So we're at least 6 years away from that. Now, my understanding is that Chekhov was really young. So Chekhov could come in right at the end.
True.
Sulu as well.
Yes.
So
and Bones.
So when my husband and I were watching this episode, we were looking at the away team, the landing party, and we're like, who's canon?
Who's gonna go?
And who's expendable? And so we're like, well, M'Benga could go, or Ortegas could go, La'an could go, and I'm like, I'm not liking where this away team is going,
They're all a bunch of red shirts right now.
we know where Pike ends up eventually, so he's safe, And when they're like the ambiguity over where is Chapel? Did Chapel survive? I'm like, well, we already know Chapel survived. She's canon, So she's.
I know.
But yeah, that was very present in my mind. Like, oh dear, well, and that's why I'm actually kind of glad that, in a sense, nothing is filmed, nothing is produced or whatever, because fans have an opportunity right now to really voice. For the love of God, if you kill Laan, if you kill Ortegas, like, I'm done. Like, I can't handle
Transfer
it.
them to another ship.
Like, that
have
can't
them...
be the end of their story.
Yeah.
Laan can't die at the hands of the Gorn. Like, no.
She's worked so hard to fight against the Gorn and struggled, and you cannot do that to her. That's just horrifying.
Yes.
Oh, but like the whole episode I thought was pretty good. Again, nitpicking here, but when Ortegas takes the shuttle, which I love that they soldered on a bunch of random pieces of junk and debris just to make it look like a big chunk of debris from the Cayuga, which I thought was really cool. But she's like, okay, we're matching speed and velocity of the debris field. And she's just rocketing straight through the debris field. Shit's just getting knocked all over the place. The Gorn's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, come on. I know that we're having to move forward for the episode.
That whole thing, like, the Gorn aren't paying attention to the debris as it's falling in and it hits their, device. Like, they're not gonna, okay.
Are you... They obviously are an advanced species, so
extent,
don't they know math and
know.
trajectories?
Maybe they're really high on those coronal mass ejection lights, something, and they're just not thinking.
They just love getting that ejection.
And if that's the case, the Enterprise should have just gone in but whatever. I don't. Yeah, that kind of the story was a little contrived for me, like,
And then the saucer section. I'm sorry, but the saucer section when they fire off the rockets, it should have been a very slow, like, I don't know. The episode, they had to move it forward for time's sake. I get that, but cut scenes. Have little scenes be like, what's the status of this and what's the status of that? Like, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour later. Because the saucer section just starts going foof right through the debris.
The timing doesn't really make sense in that, and part of that also didn't make sense is Spock is adamant that he's the only one who can carry out this mission. I'm looking at it, I'm like,
how and why?
Anyone can strap on an EVA suit and go out and put rockets down. Like, what?
I think he was just, if I had to make an educated guess onto this, I would say that Spock wants nothing more than to try and see if Chapel's down there. But then he doesn't even make an attempt. Like, the only time he goes into the ship is when he's on the bridge and the bridge is open to space. So, maybe I'm just hopeful thinking with that one, but I don't know. Like, yeah, you're right. Why is he the only one? And most of the EV suits have the automatic piloting anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, so I did not understand that part, but this episode felt like a horror. Ugh. Like a sci-fi horror with all the gore, the blood, the carnage. It had kind of an alien feel to it.
Totally. When they go into the building and they see, like, Pike looks at the dripping entrails and blood, I was like, oh, that's messed up.
Yeah, and that is not something that... Well, it is, but it's not something we've really seen in Star Trek. No. Star Trek is usually, like, limited the gore to just on the body, and it's like pink because it's Klingon or something.
Yeah, or green because it's a Vulcan.
Yeah, so or Romulan. But yeah, like, this had a real gore look to it, and the organic feel of the Gorn, the vicious nature of them in their primal state.
The younglings when it's like hissing at what's her name? Batel, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's just like drool and blood and that was cool.
I enjoyed it, and I was watching it and I'm like, I really wish this episode were longer because I wanted to see more tension, more drama, more desperation. Like, these things are coming after you and they're just hiding out in, like, a diner.
Yeah.
I'm like, and like Laan at one point, she, like, clears something off a bookshelf and just moves this
Oh
bookshelf.
my
I'm
God.
like, these things are vicious creatures pushing things around.
The
knocking
younglings are strong as all get out. It's
Yeah.
like that little bookshelf is not going to do any. That's what I was thinking too. I literally wrote it down. I was like, the bookshelf. What is that going to do?
Yeah, because Lon, she clearly just picks it up like it's nothing. So
Yeah.
it's like, well, that's gonna stop a Gorn.
I mean, the only thing that it could do is like just block some ambient light coming from where they're
Maybe.
hiding.
I don't know.
But overall, no.
But I wanted to see more desperation. I wanted to see
Yes.
like them really being on the brink. Like
when I think it was Uhura says something about a zombie film when the shuttle's going through the debris field dressing up as a zombie to make it through a horde of zombies.
Yeah.
I liked that, and then it kind of foreshadowed the feel of the town when the away team gets down there and everything's on fire, the debris is everywhere,
Yeah.
makeshift shelters. I thought that was friggin' awesome. I was like, all right, that's cool. And like you were saying, it gives it that horror feel.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I thought the episode, like, I don't think it dragged at any point. I think it kept that suspense the whole time. I just wanted more of it. And I was, and then when the saucer section finally crashes at the end, and I'm like,
Pike and all of them are dead.
Like,
they're all dead.
Well, it's like, well, that.
They were too close.
Well, like, I'm looking at them like, that's too fast of a wrap up to the episode. So I'm like, well, that's kind of okay. And then like, all right, then half the landing party is taken by the Gorn, and then a battle ensues. I'm like, crap.
Yeah.
So as this battle is taking place, and Pike is being, appearing to be indecisive, but that's just for dramatic effect for the end of the episode. I'm like, oh crap. Now I gotta wait.
Yeah.
Now I have to wait to figure out.
I was mad at that, and this the whole reason why I would say I hated this episode is the very ending. They're not even firing back. There's no phasers. There's no torpedoes. No nothing. They're just sitting there like, what should we do? I mean, I don't know. Write me up, throw me in the brig for doing this without confirmation from my captain, but I'm going to start hitting guns. I'm just going to start shooting back.
Well,
you shot at me. That's fair game.
It is total fair game because the Gorn sent the demarcation line.
Yeah,
the
Federation
there was no negotiation, and then the Enterprise never actually crossed it. Yes, They transported their own survivors or whatever, but the Gorn actually then crossed it to attack the Enterprise.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I don't think Pike was standing on the bridge being indecisive. I think that was just for the dramatic effect of the cliffhanger. I think we're probably going to jump right back into that scene when the season 3 premieres, and he's going to be very decisive, calling out orders and doing whatever. But like I said, that felt to me like less about Pike being indecisive and more about just a dramatic effect to end the episode.
I hope that's exactly what it is. I really do, because his indecisiveness, it's not him. He's not an indecisive person. Like, he might have 2 seconds of being, but he's gonna make a decision.
You don't get to command the Enterprise and be indecisive.
No. The flagship, the most technologically advanced ship that they have. Yeah, the flagship.
Flagship that never has a flag on it. Okay. Anyway.
Oh.
So
go ahead.
I was going to talk about preparations for the Gorn. So very early on in this season, we see a scene where Admiral April is talking about the Gorn threat. Mm-hmm. And when this episode opens and Pike has this mysterious crate beamed into the ready room. So it shows, okay, they're experimenting with some weapons and some whatever. What I don't understand is, why were these a secret?
Yeah.
Like, you want to train on these weapons. You want to train to fight, And like, as Lon as head of security, like she should have known that those were there and as an available resource. Like,
absolutely.
There's no reason to keep that a secret. You want your people to know how to use the equipment, so when push comes to shove, they're not like scrambling for their gun because they set it down, because when you're in Gorn hostile territory, you never set down your firearm, Pike.
Seriously. Yeah, sorry.
Sling it on your shoulder, whatever. You don't just set it down out of reach and go whatever.
No.
But
it's a little. That's why I get all nitpicky on some of these episodes, because it's like, you don't do that. I
yeah.
get that they're doing that for the episode, but
But yeah, if the and this is, I think this is a problem with the Federation as a whole, because it isn't a military. It's a fleet of exploration ships. So like if you know there's a threat, you have to prepare your ships and crew for that threat. You can't just beam one crate of weapons.
Yeah, and one single crate.
And keep it a secret, and not have anyone trained, and hope the problem goes away.
I'd love to take a whole bunch of you down there with me, but I only have 4 guns. And can I just say, for any writers who might see this episode, our show, can we stop with the shuttle or plane or whatever falling out of the sky trope? I'm sorry. We've all seen it a million times now, and I'm just tired of it. Like, show the whole thing going all the way down and almost hitting the ground and then pulling up. Don't do the from a distance
behind a
cliff or whatever, and then there's the ship. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. We're 15 minutes into an episode, and you have all the main characters on this ship. You really think I'm going to fall for this?
Yes.
I would love to actually see an episode where they do die.
Whoops. Or at least, like, crash. Sorry, my bad.
No, I want to see them all die. I want to see the end of this series just like that. 5 minutes into an episode, we got to pull up. I got this.
Apparently you don't got this.
That'll be like a what if kind of episode.
So Scotty and Pelia know each other.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious when he turns around and he goes, "Oh God, it's her."
Best student, worst grades.
Yep.
I kind of like really want to see where that goes next season. Like, that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think that they chose a really good actor. Like, he had a good accent and he was funny, and like Scotty had a sense of humor, and he was always kind of just jibing and poking at people. And I think so far.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed the character of Scotty. I wanted to see more of Scotty, and
absolutely.
They set it up so that we will. So I'm looking forward to that.
So I mean, looking forward to next season is like, when are we going to meet Bones? Are we going to get a glimpse at Chekhov? Because like you said, we still have 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 on the outskirts. So are we going to see like a young Chekhov at the academy or something like that? And Sulu.
Yeah.
Like, where's Sulu?
I don't know.
Oh, I was going to say the Gorn ship that enters the atmosphere.
Where'd that go?
Where'd it go?
I don't know.
What did it just like come in low, drop off the tower, the disruptive tower, and like some eggs and like some younglings, and was just like, deuces, I'm out.
Yeah, that like there was a lot of like unanswered questions regarding the Gorn in this case, and I think part of that was by design, because it adds to the suspense, because our characters don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So by extension, the audience doesn't know what's going on either. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool effect. You have this ensign who's ignoring his captain because he's just overwhelmed by what he's seeing in the sky, and that's got to be really terrifying. You just lost contact with your ship. You turn around and you probably recognize the silhouette of a Gorn ship.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's not good. You know, like that's. So one of the things that I found confusing was that Batel loses contact with the Cayuga, but she manages to send a distress call before the Gorn set up their field. Like, so somehow she runs to like maybe a local communications array on the planet.
If you think about it, she lost contact with the Cayuga because the Gorn ship just took it out, just
presumably
totally destroyed it. They hadn't dropped their disruptive tower yet. So she could have had she could have had anywhere from 15 minutes to 2 hours to do this.
Yeah.
Because we go from her seeing the ship breaking through the cloud cover to Pike getting an emergency call from what's his name? Admiral April. 1,001 things could have happened. I mean, obviously, when we finally get to the planet and they get down on the planet, it's nighttime and they've had an epic battle. Obviously, there's very few survivors.
Yeah.
What, 5,000 and they're down to like 100, 200,
They don't really say how many survived.
500 maybe.
But yeah, it would be. I don't know exactly how. I don't remember exactly how the Gorn eggs thing works. Like they eat some people, but then they save some people for incubation.
It's almost like the aliens. But instead of like face huggers, they just inject it through like contact with the skin or something. Like spitting.
So Battelle would have had a pretty close encounter with a Gorn, obviously, to get. The
second she jumps in front of the youngling and the youngling hisses and just looks at her and then runs away, I was like, "Yep, she's infected."
Oh yeah, that was an easy call.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even Pike knew that.
Oh yeah, Pike's like, "You have to tell me.
Say the words."
We don't hide secrets from each other.
Right. Not anymore.
So yeah, are they going to put her in suspended animation and then study her body as she transforms or like as the egg gestates inside of her? And then are they going to be able to study the specimen? Are they going to be able to extract it from Battelle? I mean,
are they going to save her, or are they going to kill her in the season opener and Pike has to deal with this loss for the rest of the season? I don't know. Like, and I think that's the thing that was kind of a surprise, is that I was expecting somebody named to die in this episode.
Oh, 100%.
And nobody did. I'm like, not that I'm disappointed. I'm just like, I was really expecting someone having died early on, so that they're battling their grief as well as the Gorn, and that didn't happen. So then, well, if somebody dies in part 2 or the next installment of it, then that's like further fuel for the whole. You're starting the season off with that, you know. Instead
you already have that anger and rage and heartbreak. And now we're just gonna put napalm on that fire.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm trusting the writers because they knocked it out of the park for season 2.
God,
you know.
I really hope that we get the same writers as this last season, because if we have subpar writers for next season, they're gonna ruin everything that the writers for season 2 did.
So, I would love to say more, but there wasn't any more.
No.
I have to wait.
I mean, I will say I love that we've only gotten to see the younglings in their natural form. They've been running around the ship when we lost Hammer, the planet that we were just on. We got to see the younglings running around and being creepy and malicious and all that jazz. And we've now finally gotten to see an adult Gorn, but in a suit, in a space suit. So we haven't really gotten to see what they fully look like. We do see the prehensile tail and how flexible it is and how usable it is. Mm-hmm. They are super strong. I mean, you saw it just like hanging up, upside down, just.
Well, and standard phasers didn't work against them, which is why Starfleet developed this new technology or enhanced
phasers.
I think one of the things that I will say is that I really appreciate Strange New Worlds finding a new villain.
Yes.
Like the next generation iteration, and it's spilled into Voyager, like the villain ends up being the Borg. Like the ultimate villain is the Borg. And I'm like, we've done this. Picard did it again. Like, okay, can we please find something other than the Borg as our big baddie? Come on.
Nope, it's always going to be the Borg. Next season, it's going to be the Borg.
And so the cool thing about Strange New Worlds is that predates a lot of the Borg.
The Gorn created the Borg.
Oh, well, okay. I wouldn't go that far. But like it's new. You take this one-off species in one episode and you develop a whole culture, you develop the whole landscape of a rival, of a villain, because even Strange New Worlds didn't like poke too much at the Klingons, like Klingons and the Romulans, like the original series did. Like they really took something a sliver of something from the original series and made it
their own.
Made it their own, and I
agree
think
with
that's
you.
fantastic.
100%.
Yeah.
On a side note, I've been rewatching Discovery because the next season was season 4, season 5.
Season 5 is the final season.
Season 5 is coming out, so I've been rewatching Discovery, and I'm on season 2. But all of season 1, you're dealing with the Klingons, and I'm watching this, and then I'm watching Strange New Worlds, and the last week's episode, the musical. The scene that we love the most when the Klingons start singing
K-pop.
Their K-pop was just absolutely hilarious. But I'm looking at those Klingons, and those are the Klingons that we're all used to and we all love from Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, so on and so forth. And then you go and you watch Discovery, and what are these? These are like, I mean, I would be okay with this if these were like ancient Klingons, you know, like, because their heads are a lot longer, their ridges are a lot more predominant, but their skin tones are like darker or lighter, and it's just so not what we know. And then from that season in this universe, it's 3, 4, maybe 5 years later, we get to the K-pop episode and the Klingons are back to how they're supposed to be. It's like, what happened there?
That's probably a production decision, obviously. Like there was a lot of fan pushback on how much the Klingons were changed and altered for Discovery, because they didn't match anything from the original series, and they didn't match anything from Next Generation's reinvention of the Klingons, because the Klingons in the original series didn't have forehead ridges. They were just,
they had like kind
bushy
of
eyebrows and
had green gray skin tones.
So they were kind of Romulan-esque in that sense. And so, you know, the Next Generation's makeup team went in a different direction.
They had those Fu Manchu mustaches too.
Yeah. And so the, you know, they changed some things, and Klingon culture was really established in Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. And so fans were really disappointed, again, that you're taking something that's established and you're trying to reinvent it for the sake of reinventing, not because it needs reinventing, but because you want to put a different stamp on it. And this is, again, kind of comes back to how Strange New Worlds doesn't do that. It takes something like the Gorn, which doesn't really have much other than that really cheesy costume that was used in that one episode. That was so like they take something like that, and I'm like, yeah, you can do something with. Please make that more believable. But yeah, so I think there was a lot of pushback with the Klingons, in particular, because the Klingon culture and the Klingon society and all of that has really been developed by this franchise, and so it didn't make sense to go out and change a lot of that for the sake of trying to make it look cooler or make it look more.
I mean, we got the 5-year Klingon War, which was cool, and I mean, we did miss.
Was it 5 years?
Was it 5 years?
It was. I thought it was supposed to be 4 years, but it felt like 6 months.
Well, don't forget that Discovery did jump into an alternate universe, and they were there for 9 months.
Okay, well, sure.
Yeah.
I've realized there's a lot of the Discovery storyline that I've just forgotten because it's
convenient,
forgettable.
Yes. Well, again, that's why I'm rewatching the series to get back into it for the upcoming season 5.
I just don't want Discovery to be canon. I think that's where I'm at. Like
is it now? Because like they're in the future.
Well, they're in a future, so I don't really care what they do in that future.
We're like 600 years into the future,
it's
something like that?
Something ridiculous. But like the shenanigans they were doing before they jumped to the future. There's like the how they portrayed the Klingon War, the whole mirror universe. Like there are elements of that I really like. Like Michelle Yeoh as Georgiou in any iteration of Georgiou,
Emperor Georgiou or Captain Georgiou. She was phenomenal.
Oh, fantastic. And yeah, they missed an opportunity with that. So, but
But
we're here to talk about Strange New Worlds.
Yes, but so going, going into that, I am in season 2 of Discovery, and Captain Pike shows up.
Oh yeah.
And I'm all excited. I'm like, "Yay, Pike! I know him." And he shows up, and he just isn't the same because at this point he hasn't lived through that emotional trauma that kind of grays his hair out, and so he has just a little bit of gray, a little bit of salt and pepper on the sides, and the rest of his hair is like a dark brown. And I'm just like, I don't like it. I don't like it. He's still a handsome man. I'm straight as an arrow, but
Yeah.
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 I'd go on a date with him.
Oh sure.
But not that Pike.
You want?
I like the salt and pepper Pike.
Yeah.
He's just more handsome.
Yeah.
He's just a good looking man.
He's aging well.
Yeah, he is.
He's aging
I know.
very well.
We need to get a towel for her, but
Yummy.
he's a good looking man.
He's very good.
He's a good looking man.
Yes.
But anyway, I just was like, no, I want the salt and pepper Pike. So then obviously I had to go and rewatch last Thursday night's episode, and I felt better.
That's good. I'm glad you felt better. Yeah, well, obviously, season 2 of Discovery was what launched Strange New Worlds. The success of that opened up that door for Strange New Worlds, and I'm really glad it did because
Seriously,
of all the new iterations, of Star Trek, Strange New Worlds has been hands down my favorite. And I love the fact that there's these characters that are new and nuanced that that they're not trying to be the original series. They're doing justice to the original series characters like Uhura, and bringing in Scotty. But the characters that are in there right now, like developing Number One and Ortegas and La'an, like in Mbenga, it's just they've done so well with that. And I'm really happy they did not screw that up because they could have,
Oh, seriously.
Someone gets an idea and the right people around the room think it's a good idea too. And
I was on my way here today to shoot this episode with you. I stopped off at the store and I was talking to one of my buddies that works there, and he watches Strange New Worlds as well. So he didn't see the season finale. So I didn't ruin anything for him, but I did mention, I was like, we are seeing the writers and directors set up for the crew of the Enterprise that we all know and remember. And I told him, I was like, Mbenga is one of my favorite characters. Like, I love the actor. He's a phenomenal actor. And he has like the subtlety of acting down. Like, you look at him and he'll just give you that look and you're like, oh, okay, he's pissed. Or, he'll give that little crook of a smile and you'd be like, okay, he's amused and he likes what's going on here. So I love the actor. I love the character. But he's not going to be around for much longer because we have to have Bones. Bones comes in.
Yeah.
But are we going to lose him? Like, is he going to die?
Right.
Or is he going to be transferred or retire? Like,
we don't know. We don't know. And the writers for Strange New Worlds get to decide a lot of that because it was never established in canon in the original series. So,
I mean, I'm a bit of a sadist, so I kind of want to see people die, but at the same time, I don't want any of them to die.
I don't want any of them to die too, but from a good storytelling standpoint, if they're going to die, I want their death to have meaning and power, and I want it to happen towards the end of the series when there's not really much of a chance for them to come back in anything.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to just see them like, they're dead. I want to see something like that. Like, it needs to be a powerful scene. It needs to have meaning and hold you captive as the audience. That I want to see.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to see it because I like them.
Right. I get it.
But I'm looking forward to seeing the next season that comes out. So I really hope that this writer's strike hurries up and these people who are very talented get what is owed to them.
Yeah.
So come on, you guys. Any more thoughts?
No, I'll have more when season 3 premieres for sure.
Yeah, buddy. Well, this is it for the Strange New Worlds episode recaps, you guys. We're probably going to have some random episodes coming up. I believe that Jen, one of your favorite shows is Babylon 5.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Babylon 5 coming up in the coming weeks, and we'll just be vamping until Lower Decks comes out in September.
I have never seen Babylon 5, so it's going to be a whole new world for me. So you guys are all going to get to see my reaction to having never seen a show. You know,
that should be interesting.
Yeah. Especially a show that hasn't been on air for what, 20 years?
Something like that. It's like it aired in the 90s. Yeah.
Whew. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much for going on this journey with us. We look forward to going on many, many more journeys with you guys. So stay tuned and we'll see you next time. I'm Peter.
I'm Jen.